How many of you ever said, I'm just not good at taking tests? I know I've said it multiple times. Yet standardized tests are the only part of college applications that are completely set in stone. You could be by far the most outgoing person, yet if you don't get a high enough score on the SAT, you're automatically not accepted. It doesn't make much sense that to get into the colleges we want, we have to pass standardized tests that really only test our memorization and preparation skills. Some schools like New York University, Smith College, and the University of Arizona have actually made it completely optional to take standardized tests for entry to their college. The SAT and ACT are tests that are made to determine a person's intelligence and determine their future achievements. But the fact that some people actually think they can predetermine another person's future based upon some mathematical and reading questions is absolutely absurd if you ask me. How can anyone actually believe that these standardized tests will help to determine tomorrow's leaders? Just to begin with, you can't tell someone's skills and personal character traits through a test that asks absolutely nothing about the person taking the test. It's just a way for schools to easily decide who they believe is qualified to attend their school. Yet, if you take away the test, these schools would actually have to get to know the students personally and look into their backgrounds, find out who they really are rather than accepting them based on tests that can easily be studied for. Don't get me wrong. They shouldn't completely get rid of the SAT or ACT, not only because the testing companies probably won't allow it, but also because of how much weight colleges do put on it for acceptance, and how colleges probably wouldn't know what to do without the tests. Yet there has been nearly no relation between test scores and future success. Simply isn't enough evidence to prove that it really shows someone's future success. Studies have actually shown that only between 10 to 20% of the variation in first-year college grades is explained by SAT scores. Bob Schaefer, Public Education Director of the National Center for Fair and Open Testing, was quoted in a Washington Post article saying, "No half-day, largely fill-in-the-blank exercise can capture key elements of academic success such as motivation, perseverance, work habits, and coping skills." Think of it. These tests don't show a person's creativity, ability to work in a team, social abilities, adaptability to different situations, person's perseverance, someone's self-discipline, or a person's vision. Those are just some of the things that you simply cannot find out through standardized testing. Now, college acceptance isn't the only place to put too much emphasis on test scores. For a long time, college and high school teachers had to give finals, and finals would be one test that could determine up to 50% of a student's grade. Now they made that up to the teacher's discretion to determine if they really give a test for finals and how much that test will be worth to a student's overall grade. So, why shouldn't they do the same with standardized testing when it comes to college acceptance? Like I said earlier, I don't think they can get rid of standardized testing completely, and I don't think they should. It is a good way to cut down the initial application pool. I just believe that they should put much less weight on the test to determine acceptance. Maybe also look into the applicant's background, see what classes they actually took, see what extracurricular activities they did. Actually learn about the applicant instead of it being a blind process where they're accepted based on abilities to prepare for a single test. For example, look more into a student's grades, put more weight onto that because it shows a student's ability to take on loads of work, and it shows a much wider range of a student's knowledge instead of testing them on just math, science, reading, and writing. Albert Einstein once said, "Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid." That's exactly what these tests do to applicants. Yes, if someone is going into either a math, science, or English field in the future, then these tests can be a good indication. But if someone goes into any field that isn't related to those three things, then why would so much weight be put on their ability to answer these questions about only those things? Another way it's unfair is because of the access to prep classes. Simply by paying money and attending a couple of classes, most of them guaranteed to raise a student's score by at least 300 points out of a possible 2,400 on the test. That not only shows how the test can easily be studied for, but also if kids can't afford those classes, which at times can cost up to $15,000, they are automatically put at a disadvantage to wealthier kids who can afford the classes. Surveys done by Fair Test have actually shown that families that make more than $100,000 have on average 300 points higher on the tests. Now, if we get into the truly elite schools such as Harvard, Stanford, or Yale, who make their average SAT scores public knowledge, they would never accept people who either didn't do well or didn't take it because it will then lower their average and decrease their elite status as a school. Because of the fact that this is how many elite schools are decided to be elite, that means even if admission teams don't really believe that SAT scores are a really good indication, which many of them don't, they can't do anything to change their admission. They can't do anything to change it in fear of losing their elite status. High school grades are a much better indication of college success because they show a wide array of different classes, assessments, and essays. They give a much more in-depth indication of academic preparation and motivation than can ever be seen through standardized testing. This is why over 800 colleges have completely gotten rid of the need to give either an ACT or SAT score, and why I believe that all colleges should at least put much less emphasis on a student's score on one test.